When we are multiplying and dividing rational expressions, we need to make sure that we don't ever divide by expression that could be equal to 0. So we need to look at our expressions and see wherever we have a divide, we need to make sure that the factors cannot equal to 0. So here we have divide. Here it says divide by 18x squared y, so we're dividing by that, and then we're also dividing by 15xy squared. So those three parts need to be considered for restrictions. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to state our restrictions. So based on our restrictions, x cannot equal to 0, okay, here, here, and here, and y cannot equal to 0, and that's for here, here, and here as well. So those are restrictions. Once we've stated our restrictions, we should convert this to multiplying by the denominator, multiplying by the reciprocal, and we can have all our multiplications on top and all our divides on the bottom. And we can just cancel out any common factors. So here I have x squared. So x and x here, these two x's, I'll cancel those out with this one x squared here. I've got y squared y, which will cancel out with this 1y cubed. Okay, I have factors here of 5. Okay, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another step because it's starting to get a bit messy. So I have 12 times 15 times y squared. So it looks like all my variable parts are taken care of. I have 25, 18, x squared. So all the variables that cancel out have been taken care of. So now I'm going to start canceling the numerical part. So I have a factor of 3 here. I have a factor of 5 here. Oops, so that's going to be 3 and 5. Okay, and then I have factor of 3 here. So that becomes 2. So again, it's starting to get a little bit messy. So I'm going to simplify this. So I have 4 times 1, y squared. I have 5 times 2. So I have 10x squared. And again, I have one more step. I can simplify that common factor of 2. Okay, and I would encourage you not to do too many cancellations in one step. We can always do an extra step, but as we we don't want to lose track of our factors and what we're dealing with. So make sure that you use a few steps when we have lots of canceling going on here. But it's important that we recognize when we have factors. So 4x squared is not a factor. Okay, we have to treat the binomial pieces all as one part. So those all represent factors. So again, we're going to start with our restrictions. In this case, we only have these two parts as divide. Okay, so it's a multiplication statement. So all the times are on top, all the divides are on bottom. Okay, and so we only have to worry about those two parts for our restrictions. So the first restriction will be x cannot equal to negative 3y. Okay, if they're equal to negative 3y, we get a 0 there. We also have here the restriction 6x squared cannot equal to 15. Okay, we probably should solve for the x, and so we end up with 15 over 6. Okay, so x is not equal to plus minus, and I'm just going to simplify that fraction to 5 over 2. Okay, so those are restrictions there. Okay, this is good enough. This is better. So when we have these restrictions, we're going to write the factored form. So once we write the factored form, okay, factor out the common factor of 2. Okay, here we're going to end up with x plus 3y. Okay, and we can write this all in one numerator and one denominator. Here we're going to end up with factoring out the 2 and we end up with 9y squared minus x squared. Well, that is a difference of squares, so we have to remember to factor that. Remember to put these in brackets because that represents a factor, and I'm going to factor out my common factor of 3, and I end up with x squared minus, 2x squared minus 5. Okay, so here we have a common quadratic factor, but that's okay because that common quadratic factor, even though it's quadratic, they do cancel. That's a times that cancels with a divide. We still have this is factorable term, and this could potentially generate a binomial factor here, which it does. So when we write this out, I'm going to end up with 4. This becomes 3y plus x, 3y minus x because it's a difference of squares. X plus 3y, well, there's my common factor. Although these are written backwards, it doesn't matter, they are still the same factor, and I have my factor of 3. So I can cancel these out, and I have my final solution here is 4 times 3y minus x all over 3. Okay, so there's my simplified form with these restrictions. So finally here we can get to this one. Again, identify the divide parts so that we can work out our restrictions. Okay, so we end up with here, this is a difference of squares. So I'm going to start factoring 3a minus 4c, 3a plus 4c. Factor out the greatest common factor here is 4a. So I'm left with 1a plus 3c. Okay, write the multiplication statement. It's going to end up being 8a plus 3c. And in the bottom here, we're going to factor out a greatest common factor of 3a. So left with 4c minus 3a. Okay, I forgot to state my restrictions. Okay, so I can do, maybe I'll do my restrictions from the factored form. So I've got my factors here, here, and here. I have to state restrictions for. So I have a not equal to 0, a not equal to negative 3c. Here I have 4c not equal to 3a. Okay, and I have also, I've got stated that restriction as well. Okay, so I've taken care of this one as well. Once I have that, I can start canceling factors. These factors cancel out. This factor and this factor happen to be the same, but we'll rearrange it first. It looks like I have a factor of 4 that I can cancel out here. 2 cancels with this one. So I'm going to rewrite this. So I'm going to end up with 2 times 3a minus 4c, 3a plus 4c. Okay. In the denominator, I have 3a squared. And I'm going to factor out the negative here, so I end up with 3a minus 4c times negative 1. So then I can cancel out those final factors here, these ones here, and I can rewrite the expression as 2 times 3a plus 4c over negative 3a squared.